Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sam, and today I am going to go through a ton of real life nursing interview questions and answers and real life answers, what they expect from you, everything like that, because I know when I went through these nursing interviews, I was traumatized. I literally walked out of them and was like, what the heck was that? I'm literally not getting a job. That's it. I'm just not getting a job. So I want to help all you out there who are super nervous, worrisome over this, because it's not as bad as it seems. And especially if you get to prepare like this, it helps tremendously. So I am actually a nurse extern right now, and I will be a nurse in December when I graduate nursing school. But for this nurse externship, when I went through interviews, I went through 3 major ones, and they told me that they act with these externs as if it is a real nursing interview and a real nursing job, because that's basically your job description anyways, is being a nurse under the supervisor of a nurse. So all these questions are the same exact interview type that they do with regular nurses and regular registered nurses, graduate nurses, all of those. And out of all 3 interviews, there were slightly different areas based on hospital policies or views, stuff like that. But for the most part, every question was the same in just different words. So I don't know if they did this on purpose, so I'm not going to say where I work for this reason. I don't want to get them in trouble or anything. But the one job that I actually got, I got all of them, but the one job that I actually chose to work at and got accepted to, I don't know if they accidentally did this, but they sent me an email of a document of paper with a bunch of interview questions before my interview, and they forwarded it to me, but also included people who were interviewing me. So I looked at it and I saw that there were questions, and I said, maybe these are just talking points that they want, so I'm going to study them, kind of come up with questions. And in the interview, they were actually the exact questions that they used. And then that was my first interview. So I went to 2 others after that, and they used the exact same questions in different wording. So I realized there's a trend here. They ask very similar questions around every single hospital base, just slightly different depending where you go, like I said. So I actually copied these questions down word for word from the one place that I got. I also added a bunch of different ones from my other interviews that I got, if they were different questions or worded in a better way or something. And I'm going to give you the answers that I gave. I got all 3 job offers that I did, so I don't think I did terrible like I thought. And just kind of what to think about when they're asking these questions of you. So without further ado, let's just get right into that. The first is to describe a time or situation when you partnered or collaborated with patients and families to improve the care experience. So my answer for this was about my patient's wife, actually, not my patient. Her husband had cancer, and it really just wasn't looking great for him. Due to this, you could see that she was very worrisome and upset and just kind of distraught with the whole situation going on. But when me and my nurse tried to go and sit with her and talk to her about everything, she basically said, go worry about the other people that need you more. I'm not my patient. They need your care and time. Don't worry about me. Our responses, or my response, was that the family is our patient just as much as the patient who is sick. They need our care just as much as any other person. If they are visibly like this, we are there for support. We are not only there to care for them, but part of that physical care is also emotional care, which is support for you. So I think there's 2 ways of going about this. One, kind of how I did. You first think about a time that you not only cared for the patient, but also a family member, and describe that experience, because that improves the care not only from one person, but a variety of others in their family. The second is to think about a time that you actually collaborated with the family to improve the care of the patient. I couldn't think of a situation like this on the spot, but basically if there's something going on with the patient, or they can't fully trust you or confide in you, or maybe there's something wrong with their routine, they do a certain routine every day at home or something. If you just confide in the family and learn what they want, it'll make that so much better. Okay, next question is, tell me about a time you exceeded an expectation when you went above and beyond. I personally answered about a time where I had a bipolar patient. She wouldn't participate in care, she wouldn't cooperate. So basically, I had to learn her normal routine, her own little lifestyle, and try to adapt myself to her situation, her life. That way she can confide and trust in me and not have me telling her what to do when she's not used to that, which ultimately is improving her care because now she's participating, now she's cooperating, now she trusts me. Now she knows that I'm here to help her. I'm not here to try to control her or hurt her like she might have thought. I would say to just think about a time that a patient really appreciated what you did to help them. A time that you did more than your job description generally requires you to do because you genuinely care about the patient and you want their care to exceed. You want to do the best you can, and that patient really appreciated what you did because you just went so much further than you had to in that care. Third question is, provide an example of how you manage your workload when you feel the stress of having too much to do and not enough time to get it all done, or when you are short-staffed. So I didn't even have a healthcare job before this job that I was interviewing for. So I had to come up with something from my past job. And if you don't have a healthcare job, then you can come up with something from your past job or just come up with something in general from like clinicals or something. But this question, the answer is always prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. That's all. That's what you want to say, is how you prioritize and how you delegate. In nursing school, the one major thing that we learn how to do is prioritize patients, prioritize situations, prioritize how to do things like ABC. Prioritizing is the number one thing that we learn to do, and you need to show that you know how to do that you have learned that that is the most important thing. You could also, like I said, mention how important it is to delegate tasks, because working as a team in nursing is also very important, and not everyone can do everything at once. So if you are prioritizing patients, you go to the one that's prioritized first, and then you go down the line to the one that's last, or you ask someone else to help you with that prioritization. You kind of prioritize your patients in a level. You go to the one that's first always, that's your patient, and then you ask someone else if they can do something for one of the other ones that are prioritized a little less. But that answer, mention prioritizing. Do not leave that word out. The next question is that I'm going to read a statement. This is what they said. Imagine that a patient approaches you in the hall. Listen to the statement and respond as if I were that patient. Statement is, I have been calling the nurse for an hour. What is the matter with this place? So out of all 3 interviews I had, this type of question, worded a little differently each time, was on there, and it was one that I was not expecting at all. So you just have to respond in a way that shows you care, and you care about their feelings and how they're feeling, but also say that it was not your intention to have this happen. Mention that you or another nurse, this can go in 2 ways. It can go as the patient is speaking to you about your own, like that's your own patient, or the patient's coming to you but it's someone else's patient. So you can say you or the other nurse was in an urgent situation that needed your help, and it was not your intention to ignore this patient that's upset. And you did not ignore them. You still have what they need in the back of your head. There's just a very urgent situation that you needed to attend to. Come up with ways when you go to care for that patient that will make them feel more comfortable, less upset, less like you ignored them, and you need to exceptionally care for them afterwards. Not suck up to them, but make them feel more important than they did when they didn't have you when they needed you. 5th question, I think that's 5. Next question is, tell me about a time when you had a difficulty or disagreement with a coworker or peer and how you handled it. So like I said, I didn't have a healthcare job for these interview questions, so I had to come up with one from my past job, or you can come up with one in general. They'll never know the difference. it's not really about the situation, it's about how you handle things. So the situation could be false and they would never know. I basically said a situation that happened. I honestly came up with one that happened in my old job. And my way to handle it was to talk about it and come to an agreement with each other rather than sit and argue and just continue disagreeing about it. You have to let them know that you and this person are here for the same outcome. Therefore, you both need to come up with a way to have this outcome happen, whether it's different, whether it's the same, whatever, but you cannot fight and argue about it or else this outcome won't happen. You have to work together even in a disagreement. And you don't need to be friends with it. You don't need to talk to each other otherwise. You just need to work together for this outcome. That's it. Next question, what techniques do you use in your job at clinicals to contribute toward a teamwork environment? So there's a few important techniques that I found along the way. Again, delegation. Delegation is super important in teamwork. One person cannot do it all, and you acknowledging that tells them that you are not afraid to say that I can't do it all. Some nurses will say, yeah, I can do it all, I can do it all, and then you don't get all of it done. So it's important to say that, yeah, I know that sometimes so much will be going on that I can't get it all done, and I will need to delegate certain tasks. And that can be a task that needs to be done urgently. That can be a task that maybe is prioritized least, but then someone can get it done so you don't have to go back to it and it just gets done and over with. Whatever it is, you need to delegate. Communication is also a key for teamwork, especially in a job like nursing where basically all you do is talk and communicate with your patients and coworkers. Everyone needs to be on the same page, because if you're not on the same page with your patient, your co-nursing, your doctors, your therapist, whoever, the outcome will not be met again. So communication is absolutely needed. And I also think it's important to say that you will always ask questions to your peers, because whether they're above you, they're below you, they're even with their job, whatever it happens to be, other people know more or less than you do. Not everyone knows the exact same things. And again, that's also important to acknowledge, is that you can learn from your peers. The best way to learn is from others, because you all have different experiences. So if you don't know something, go to the other people and ask them. I think that's an important one that I didn't say, and I do think I should have said, and a lot of people should say, because using your coworkers and peers for education is so important. So question is, what strengths do you feel you bring to this program? What would you like to gain through this experience? This was kind of gathered for my extern program, but they also, I've heard asked this question everywhere, like, what strengths do you bring as a nurse? So no matter what, they'll ask about certain strength or skills that you have. The second part of the question I'm going to start with first because it's a little easier. What would you like to gain through this experience? That's a very personal thing. That's all up to you, but you have to be honest, because they need to see if you are going to be a good fit with the company. And honestly, being honest with them will show what they need to do for these new nurses and what experiences they want to see and that they can give you. But the first part is the what strengths. Honestly, list all and any strengths that you can think of. None of them can hurt. A list that I found to be best, that I included and I've come up with along my way of working, is active listening, critical thinking, time management, confidentiality, communication, prioritization again, dependability, empathy, and compassion. I think these are all super important strengths and skills to have in the nursing career, and they don't ask you to elaborate, but there's definitely bonus points if you do. I would come up with top 3 to 5, and also why you think those are so important, because I also had a job say, why do you think those strengths are needed in this career? So active listening is pretty easy. You have to listen to your patient and not just hear them, but understand what their needs are. And the active part means that you are actually physically doing something from what they told you, because you don't just want to listen to them and have it blow over your head. You want to do something for what they were saying to you, whether that is medication or different ways of dealing with pain or being there for support or education, whatever it may be. Critical thinking, again, this can kind of go with prioritization and delegation. Like I said before, these are very key concepts that you need. You have to think on the spot. You have to. There's no exception to it. So you have to say, no matter what unit you're on, things could change in a heartbeat, and you need to be able to process what to do within a minute, less than a minute. Again, prioritization and delegation, I already explained. Time management kind of goes with this critical thinking. Again, something can happen in a split second. So you need to know how to time manage everything, how to prioritize. They all go with each other. Dependability, you are talking to higher ups of this company, to managers, to nurse educators, everyone. You want them to know that they can depend on you to complete the job that they want from you. And then empathy and compassion have to go with each other. You obviously want to genuinely care for these people, try to understand them, show them emotion, and be there to support them. Next question. What would your manager or supervisor say about your 1, performance and attitude, and 2, attendance? Honestly, this should be an easy one, but also don't just say it's good. Because I sat there for a minute. I sat there for a good minute and I was like, it's good, but like I can't just say, oh, they'd say it's good. Because it doesn't really elaborate or explain. For your performance, say it's the best of your ability and you're always striving to be better. You're always learning, and your performance reflects how you care towards your patients, so it should be amazing. Your attitude is positive, because so many patients are negative, have negative feelings and thoughts. When they talk, it's negative because they're sick, they're in the hospital, it's not a happy time for them. So positivity from you helps the patients so much. Attendance, it's stellar. You always show up early. You like to plan and organize your day beforehand. You like to get all the information gathered before you start your day. And you stay afterwards to finish all the tasks that need to be done. You don't just leave when you're supposed to leave. You leave when everything that you want complete is completed. So see the ways that's a little different than just saying, oh, my performance is good, my attitude's positive, and my attendance is good. You need a little more than that for them to honestly get what you mean out of it. The last question that I have is, what was a mistake that you've made and how did you fix it or learn from it? So this was asked in, I think, 2 of my interviews, and it was hard for me. I was not expecting it, and I sat there thinking, and I was like, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about a situation, and it was bad. Like, it probably wasn't bad for them, like they were probably used to it, but I was sitting there like, oh my god, I did not prepare for this kind of question. What do I say? Therefore, that is why I included this in it, and you need to hear it. It's really hard thinking about things that you aren't well at or that you have made a mistake in doing because you don't like it. Obviously, no one likes when they make mistakes or do something wrong. But it's not about the thing that you did wrong or made a mistake in. It's how you dealt with it that they care about. They need to know how you compose yourself with this mistake so that it doesn't happen in the future, and what you have learned that's made you a better nurse because of it. No matter what, you are going to make mistakes. There's nurses 20 years in the field who still make mistakes, but they want to know how you're learning from it. Come up with a situation that's happened, whether it's true or false, whatever, and discuss how this has made you a better nurse. Show how what you did has now geared your nursing career in a different way, or how you are going to avoid this situation in the future, or what you've learned from it is super important now, or whatever it be. Just know it's not about this mistake that was made, it's about what came after it. What came after it. Oh my god, I can't speak. What came after it. That's the important part. I believe that I said something super simple because I was traumatized by the question and I had to come up with something super fast on the spot, but I said how my first nursing clinical semester that a nurse asked me to bring a bunch of supplies for a procedure into the room. So I did, and I didn't look at the room number, I didn't look at the patient's band or identifiers. And I started prepping this patient for a procedure. Not anything crazy, I think it was literally an IV or something. And it was the wrong room. The nurse was looking for me, I walked out, wasn't the room, and it's a very simple mistake. But I told them, this is the important part, is that I learned every day now. I go in, I look at the patient's identifier, their name, their date of birth, their room number, and I always identify the patient and the room number now. I never walk into the wrong room. I'm never with the wrong patient because of that small mistake that I made. And that is the one that they wanted to hear. They wanted to know how it changed me, not the mistake. There will also be the question of the simple, why did you go into this career of nursing? I think only one place asked me this question, to be honest. But all I have to say about that is be unique. Don't just say a typical answer that everyone says, like, oh, I like caring for people. Try to come up with something unique. I have to say the job that I got was the one that asked me this, and they were very happy with my response. I basically said that this doesn't go for everyone, again, it's personal, but I said that my mom was in the hospital for a long period of time when I was a kid, and I saw the nursing aspect from the patient side. I was always scared to leave my mom because I was a little kid, and then my dad told me that the nurse is going to be her family for the night while I'm not there until I come back. And that always wanted to make me be a nurse, is that I wanted to be on that nurse side and be the family for the patient when the family can't be there. And they said they've never heard anything like that, where your family prompted you to go into it, or where your own family's experiences really prompted you to go into it. So again, come up with something unique, not something generic that they hear every single time they ask this question, because they go through these interviews a ton. Again, these questions may be asked in very different varieties, different words, kind of base it around their own organization structure. But for the most part, those questions were the big ideas of what were asked of me. So weaknesses, strengths, how you deal with a difficult situation or a difficult person, how you learn from stuff, how you prioritize. There will always be prioritization questions. Think of that. So they're not going to be word for word, but they're going to be along the lines of those questions. There may also be questions about the organization's specific values and passions and goals. And each organization is different, so before you go into the interview, I would look up the organization, hospital, whatever it may be, and there will always be on their website a about me section or about us, whatever, and it will say their values, goals, all that stuff. You need to memorize them and base your questions or base your answers around what they are. They might even ask you, what are your values? You want your values to match up with theirs, so you better know what their values are. If this is something completely made up, but if their value is or goal is to just make the patient healthy and yours is to make the patient happy, those don't match up well. You need to match up with the organization that you are interviewing for, so you need to know those. That is important. And very lastly, they will always ask you if you have any questions. This is the time to ask any question that you have. Don't ask about pay. That's the one thing I wouldn't ask about, because they don't want to think you're in this just for the money. That will come later on once you've gotten the job or they offer you a job. But this could be like how nurses feel about working there, or what are the major tasks that you do on this unit or floor, or do you need any certifications to work on this specific unit? What's a nurse's typical day in the life look like here at this organization? Anything like that that you may have questions about that could further help you decide where you actually want to work at. I hope you guys all enjoyed this, and I really hope it helps you, because like I said, I was a little traumatized. Those were the first interviews I've ever had, especially for healthcare. Be calm, be collected, you got this. You went through nursing school, you know what they're looking for. Like I told you, all those major points, they are looking for those. And you know that if you want to work for this organization, you must have something in common with them, and they will see that in you. They will see your passion. They will know you want this job. Congratulations with your nursing career, whatever that may be. And if you like this video, please subscribe and like, and I will post more nursing videos and information and vlogs, whatever it may be. I will see you in the next video.